Natalie, how are you?
I'm good, thanks.
I know you have
Probably a little less scrambly.
a busy day. Okay, I want to just make sure we're recording. So what I want to do is just like jump in and we're just going to talk about your journey. It's going to be just a conversation. It's going to be so great. And then we're going to turn off the recording and I just want to talk to you. So, how's that?
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Just checking that and checking the thing. Okay, perfect. All right. Hi, I'm here with Margaret McNellis, and I'm so excited to talk to this particular book coach about the journey of finding your niche and serving who you want to serve and working in your zone of genius. This is a thing I hammer home all the time with book coaches who are launching businesses or trying to improve their businesses or up their game. It's the solution to everything, it turns out. And it's much, much, much harder to do than it sounds like. And Margaret, you can go and look at her website. It's mcnelliswrites.com. That's McNellis writes.com, and be able to see what we're talking about here today and just get a really good sense of what this all means. So that's my intro to you, which is not really an intro to you, but an intro to what we're doing here. But you are, so let's just go back to your becoming a book coach. Why did you do this training and this work? What was your thought process behind selecting it as a thing to do?
Oh my, so many reasons. So one of the main reasons was I wanted to help people tell their stories. I've been fortunate to get to know a lot of writers, and what I've learned is that a lot of people feel like from one part of their life or another, their voice has been silenced. And it's just really important to me to help people boost craft and confidence. And it doesn't hurt, doing something with my degrees either.
You have a lot of degrees. So when you talk about working with writers and knowing writers, you've been working in university settings with writers at a whole bunch of different levels and a whole bunch of different ways for a very long time, in the classroom, in writing centers, helping administer these programs. So you've really been in these writing programs. And I love that you identified this service, like this service aspect of wanting to help. And how, like, why did you turn to book coaching rather than staying solely in academic service providing settings?
That's a great question. I wanted to do more with creative writing, with fiction especially. And there are, getting an opportunity to teaching in creative writing at an undergrad or graduate level, it's kind of like getting a book published. You can do everything right, and it might or might not happen.
Yeah.
So, I figured it was a shorter path to helping the people who need help, who are seeking help, than, going the academia route. And also not everybody is in a position to start an academic program. It's a really long commitment. Coaching can be a little bit shorter. So, it opens up the door to serve more writers.
So you're a writer yourself, you're an indie author, and you're a writer of historic fiction. I actually just started reading your book, which, don't get too excited, because the way that I read is I usually am reading about 10 books at a time. It's just what I do. And just depending on how I feel or what my energy is or whatever, I bounce around. So it can take me a while, but yours moved into the place. So chapter one was amazing.
Thank
That's
you.
what I got for you. I'm already wondering what's going to happen to this woman. But so you're a writer your own self, and you so now I want to shift a little. So you do the book coach training with Author Accelerator. You get certified. Now you're launching this book coach business. And one of the things that I'm trying to emphasize more and more with people is that we don't just train you and then say goodbye, have a good time. We have a robust community of coaches, and we're all trying to lift each other up and establish this profession and then individuals trying to launch their businesses, which is hard work. It's hard work. And there's a lot of things that go into that, just all the things you might imagine, right? You have to have a website, you have to have a way to take payment, you have to offer something, what service, how are you going to price it, all those questions. So when you started doing that work, you had a website and a vision and a way of addressing writers that I would call generic. Is that a fair assessment?
It definitely is. Yeah, I was gearing it toward, I live near the shore and it's one of the things I love the most. And, which would have been great if I was coaching like beach reads,
Yeah, like beachy pictures. Yeah. Right. So one of the things is there has to be alignment between what the coach is offering and who they're trying to offer it to. And I think one of the mistakes a lot of people make when they launch their coaching businesses is they think writers as like this monolithic block of people, but there's so many different kinds of writers writing so many different kinds of things with so many different kinds of particular problems. So the thing that you did just so brilliantly, which your website showcases, is you really honed in on who you're serving, how you're serving them, why you're serving them, why what you have to give to them that's unique and special and awesome. So that's what I want to talk about is how did you make those decisions and how did you start honing in on what it is, and maybe you can also talk about what it is, like who you're serving and why and all that.
Yeah, sure. So I'm serving anyone who is magical or magic curious. So people who maybe have dabbled in some tarot or, they want to combine their writing journey with something a little extra, with something a little spiritual, maybe. And in that group, I also work specifically with historical fiction, fantasy writers, and some, spin-offs from that. But those are the two main genres that I'm working with. And to be honest, I would not have gotten there without the mastermind and without you. And, there was a moment earlier this summer and right after I had joined the mastermind, when I think it was when you found out that I read tarot and that I'm interested in witchy stuff. And you said, oh, why isn't that on, as part of your coaching? And I just started to think about it. And it was like everything I had been trying to do and, struggling to build in my business, spending hours and hours and hours a week, trying to figure out how to fit it all together. Everything just clicked. It just clicked into place. And that's not to say I haven't made tweaks since then, but I think that the tweaks that I've made have been more honing than like, let me leap 10 feet to the right. So I really dove in and just kind of like combine them. And the other piece of it was it made my website a more cohesive user experience as well, because I originally had these three umbrellas. One was the writer, the coach, and then the witch, and they were really all separate.
Right. So that's a really important point. So you said the writer, the coach, and the witch. And when I remember very clearly when I first saw your website, it was like, here's this mishmash of all these things that this person does. And it was like, okay, but what does this have to do with that or the other thing? And a lot of book coaches are also writers, and they need to integrate those two things together in some cohesive way, as you say. And then you also have this other part of your identity, and lots of people have those parts of their identity. They could be all different things that they do or that they are or that they believe, and bringing them all together is the goal. So and I also remember that early website, you had the tarot card reading as a little tiny thing sort of shoved at the end, like, oh, and here's this other thing that you could do, and that you could do this for you as a writer or for your characters. And that was the thing that just made the light bulbs go off in my head. It was like, whoa, that's really interesting. So you pulled that all together into this one thing and then put that at the front and center. And what did it feel like once you had that click happen?
Oh my goodness. So I will say like my email lead magnet was kind of like, it was okay before that. It wasn't exciting to me. And therefore, I kind of think of it the way I think of books. If it's not exciting to the author, who's going to want to read it? So
Yeah.
once I did that, that kind of clicked. And, then you helped me level up even further because I had created like the Writing Witches Wheel of the Year PDF. And we were talking more about tarot. And after that, I created like a month's worth of emails that just like teach writers how to use even just like one suit of the tarot deck, because it's 78 cards. So I didn't go through every single card, but I have a series of 4 emails that goes through like 5 or 6 cards an email. And, then from there, I started creating courses and, just kind of bringing everything under that umbrella. And it just feels very cohesive to me now. And while I'll still make occasional tweaks on my website, I'm not laboring on it for hours and hours a week, trying to figure out how to make it enticing.
And what is it like to speak to potential clients now that you're so clear on who you serve and what you do? Does it help with that part of the process?
Yeah, it's really freeing because I know that I'm going to come to the work as excited as though it were my own, you know. And it's not that I wouldn't seek to help every writer in some way, but we can't help every writer. So, what I do on my website is I say, if you're not sure if we're a fit, reach out to me anyway, and I can connect you through other coaches. I probably know someone who can help you, but I'm very clear, and I put it even on my application that people can only select the genres that I want to work in.
Mm.
Um, so that they know even from that point on, if they haven't read it yet, that this is what I do and this is who I help and this is who I'm excited to help. And that's where my experience is. So I feel like as a writer, and even in the education I've received, I have an art history bachelor's, so it kind of lends itself well to that. And I can help people in a more holistic way.
And what does that, so that inherent in that process of choosing who you're going to serve and defining it, you're saying no. You're saying no. And when you start a business, the instinct is, I can help all the people do all the things all the time. Just bring me your stuff and I can help you. And the danger with that is that you're then customizing every single thing. It's hard to make efficiencies and processes and systems. It's hard to do marketing. It makes everything so much harder. And yet we think that that's the best way forward, is to help everyone do everything. So what is it like for you, when you're still building and at the beginning, what is it like to know that you're saying no every day? You're saying no to somebody who might land on your site and go to that and not see the genre they work in.
At first, it was really scary. I have to be honest, it was one of the most frightening things, because it was like I could just be sending away clients and people who need help. But I kind of, I started to feel as though with the invitation to reach out to me anyway, that I could connect them to someone in our network of coaches, that I could still help them, but not in a way that is disingenuous to what I want to do, because that's not going to serve them the best either. They deserve to have a coach who's like ready to dive off the cliff with them on their story. And over time, it actually has shifted from something that was a little bit daunting to something that's really freeing, because I know that my time is going to go to the people that I work best with and who I can best serve. And anyone else, it's just not the right fit. And, I would hate to take somebody's money for something that's not the right fit. I think it would make me feel a little sick. So it's gone from feeling like something a little bit dangerous to something that's actually really comforting.
I love that. And what's interesting about that, you're my favorite example of this work, because when I, as the CEO of this company, am out doing a podcast or a live event or an interview or something, and people are asking me about our program and our system and how we support coaches, and I have to come up with something on the fly as an example, I talk about you all the time.
you.
And I send people to your website all the time because like, things are moving fast and maybe you're a little stressed and whatever. It's like, well, can you give an example of a coach who has narrowed their services or narrowed who they serve, and what does that look like and what does that mean? And I'll come up with you and your name and your website because it's just memorable. And that's the way marketing works as well, is I can remember and therefore speak about you, as can people on our team and all the other book coaches in the community. If anybody, like, name any of them, right? Suzette or Suzanne, they're all named Suzette or Suzanne or Susie. It's not true, but the ones that just came into my head, right? We have a lot of different people with a lot of different names, but if one of those people got a client who was into magic or had a story that had witches or magic in it, or wanted tarot, or was talking about or asking about that, they would immediately say, oh, you should go work with Margaret. That's the way marketing works. That's what word of mouth is as well. It's not just you serve a client and they're really happy and they tell people. That's the main kind of word of mouth, but other people talking about your business too. And you've made it really easy for people to do that. And I would love to hear what it's like when you know you've got your ideal client, when it's like, oh, I really want to work with this person, or I'm excited to work with this person. Like, what does that feel like?
Oh, thank you. So not long after I niched into this witchiness, I read tarot at a local tea shop a few towns over, and they invited me to leave my business card on like their community board. And I got an email from someone, and she said, I'd never walked into that store before, but I walked in and it was like I was drawn to your card because I have a book to write. And, the fact that you weave magic in, just like, that spoke to me. And so she called, and she was working on a memoir, which I had just started. I had just started the memoir masterclass that Author Accelerator offers. And I said to her, I was really scared to say this, I remember, can we wait a little while? Can we wait till I finish this course so that I can serve you better? And she said, yeah, of course. So time went on, and we ended up, I reached out to her again when I finished the course, and I said, I'm done. Are you still interested in working together? And we worked together, and it was so beautiful. And because she's local, we were able to meet in person outside while it was warm out. And, we had our coaching sessions. I pulled some tarot cards for her each time, and it was just so much fun. I looked forward to every single meeting, and I looked forward to her pages coming in. And I feel like her time working through the blueprint was so beneficial to her and to me, because I just got so much out of it. It just felt so nice to do that work.
That's exactly it. Like, that's all anybody wants, is to do the work you love with the people you enjoy and to make money while you do it. And that scary leap that you took is the way. And what I find interesting is that that process doesn't change over time. You're constantly having to make decisions about who to work with or how to work with people, or, refining what you offer or what you do. That process, that iterative process, never ends. And I don't know about you, but I find it very akin to the work of writing, because it's generative and it's creative, and making a business is not, in my mind, that dissimilar from writing a book. There's layers, and there's unfolding, and there's revision, and sometimes you have to scrap the whole thing and start again, and you never know if it's going to work, and you have to have faith, and you have to tune into what's authentic to you. It's all that same process. Do you feel that connection?
100%. And I would say niching down makes it easier to have faith. Like, I'm the sort of person where if something's not working pretty much right away, I'm like, all right, it's broken, let me fix it. And then I tended to make changes too quickly, before things could really, get rolling. But with this, because I love it so much, it's just kind of like, I'm just going to be patient. And I'll, as I work with people, I'll make tweaks based on what I'm hearing that they need. But it's easier not to just like blow the whole thing up and start from scratch because I love it so much. And it just makes it so much simpler to have faith that it will work.
Yay. So what would you say to somebody who's considering becoming a book coach and they're worried about starting a business and maybe they don't think of themselves as a business person, or they're not sure how to start or that, and what would you say to that sort of person?
I would say it is very much like writing a book, in that you have to keep your eye on the big picture, but also focus on the smaller tasks. So if their goal is to start a business as a book coach, the first step is to start working towards certification and have in mind what they want to do for their business, but understand that nothing is set in stone, that there's no rush, that they can build it as they go, and it doesn't have to be perfect right out of the gates. I think I've changed my packages like 5 times in my first year, just as I was kind of figuring out what people want and how to make it fit with my life and my work style. And in the beginning, I put a lot of pressure on myself. I came out with my packages after I was certified and I said, this is what I'm doing. This is how it's going to be. And like 2 months later, I'm like, nope, that's not what's working.
Yeah.
So I think that flexibility really helps, but also to just have faith in the process and be ready for it to take a little while, but know that it's worth it. That the journey itself really is as enjoyable as the end goal, and I don't necessarily even have an end goal. I have goals, but I don't have an end goal because I don't foresee stopping. So
I love it. Well, thank you for talking to me and for letting me always talk about you and for just having such a fantastic website. And for anybody listening who's thinking, wait, I write fantasy and I write fiction and I want some magic in my life and story, Margaret is your person. So you can check out her site and see if she is for you. So thank you for chatting.